Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So as promised, I'm going to be doing the most common questions that I get on my YouTube channel. So that is literally any video. I've scoured through all my videos and I've picked out the most common ones because, like I say, there's a lot of questions which I get asked multiple times, and it's not necessarily your fault because you can find it in a video, but why not ask it, because it's probably going to be a lot quicker. So what I've done is compiled all those questions, and hopefully this will answer the questions that a lot of people find that they want the answers to most, but also save you going through comments, etc. So I've got a bunch on my phone. I actually have so many, and yeah, we're just gonna get a bit of an update on some of them, and also hopefully answer any ones that are repeated a lot or that are always on your mind. Anyway, I hope you're well. I am. I had my birthday last week, and people watched the cake live, which everyone seemed to love, so thank you so much to everyone that tuned into that, because I absolutely love that cake. If you haven't watched it, then I'll put a little card somewhere so that you can go and watch the live, but I'm obsessed with that cake. It's literally autumn in a cake, so I was obsessed with it, and I'm going to be posting a lot of photos on my Instagram this evening about it, and probably for the next few weeks, because yeah, it's so pretty. I'm hoping that I get to recreate it in some way, because that's what I did last year when I did my cake. People ended up ordering my cake, but just again. But I love the techniques that I used in it, so fingers crossed we get to do them again. So yes, let's get right into it. So number one is, can I have pets and a home business? Of course you can. This is very sort of hit and miss as to the advice on it, because there's literally nothing online about it, and I'm just going from what my health officer said. Obviously every council is different, please check with yours, but part of it, not to sound blunt, is kind of a bit common sense. So what you need to think about is what pets you have, where they are allowed access to in your home, and what kind of hours you're going to be doing, all that kind of stuff. So in my situation, we have 5 dogs, which is a lot of dogs. However, they are all small, non-molting dogs. I try and keep them out of the kitchen as much as possible. However, my kitchen is located at the dog door, so there is no other way for them to get outside on their own apart from walking through the kitchen. So for me, it's obviously very difficult to say I'm never going to have a dog in my kitchen, because they need to get outside. And also, say for example you have like a husky who can reach the counters and molts everywhere, I would say to keep them out. But like I say, my dogs don't molt, and they also can't get anywhere near the counters where there's any food, so I just avoid having them in as much as possible. But if they do walk through, I'm not worried, and my health officer didn't seem to have a problem with it, because I told her that I just keep them out as much as possible, and that's that. So also, I would put it out there that if you have cats, it's a slightly different situation, because I know I used to have cats when I was a kid, and they would jump on the counters on their own and obviously molt everywhere. So if you have cats, again, kind of use your own knowledge of your cat and say, well, they can jump on the counters, so maybe I should lock them out of the kitchen when I'm baking, because otherwise they could contaminate food. So yeah, I think the pets thing is a bit difficult. You just have to kind of assess it for yourself and try and be as clean as possible and all of that. Like, don't go and stroke your dog and then carry on making your cake, stuff like that. But most of it is kind of based on your own knowledge, which I think is why they don't really say anything. Like my health officer, I told her that I had dogs. She saw some of them when she came in, and yeah, she saw the dog door. I said that they have to get out that way, and she was like, just try and keep them out as much as possible, like don't contaminate the food, that kind of thing. So that is on pets. Like I say, ask your health officer, because that's what they're there for. They're literally there to ask questions. So ask them. If they have particular guidance, then I would say listen to them. But mine, like I say, just kind of left it to me. So that's the decision that I've made. This is the number one question that I get asked, and I get it on literally every single video, even if it's not about it. And that is, do you need a double sink or a downstairs toilet? So I'm going to clear this, because basically when I did my food hygiene video, I didn't know the answer to this question. So I just said my experience, and it wasn't very helpful for anyone else, and now I get asked the question lots. So basically what I have found out now, and again, as far as I'm aware, that is the way that it works. Again, ask your health officer if you are worried, or if you're in contact with them, ask them because they can give you an answer. But I personally have a double sink. However, it is not a double sink in terms of two large sinks. It is one big sink and then a small kind of like a rinsing basin. You can wash your hands in it. So what they said is I have a washing station, which is the big one, and then I have a hand washing area, which is the little one. If you do not have a double sink, they say that you can have a washing up bowl in your sink, which is for your washing up, but you can just have one on the side which you fill with hot water and you wash your hands in there and then just change it regularly. So that is the other option. Otherwise, you can use a downstairs toilet. It is not as sort of strict as people worry about. So like, people say, what if my bathroom is straight onto my kitchen? Is that unsanitary? What if my bathroom doesn't have a door? What if there's all kinds of things. What if it's just a sink in a bathroom opposed to a sink in a toilet, if that makes sense? Like a sink in a bathroom as in where the shower is. As long as you have a hand washing area downstairs, that covers that section. As for upstairs, I have no idea, and unfortunately I don't want to tell people the wrong answer. So if you have an upstairs bathroom but no double sink, then I would advise you go for the washing bowl option, where you have a washing up bowl in your sink and a washing up bowl on the side, and that covers you in that sense. But again, like I say, please ask your inspector because they'll be able to give you an answer. But yes, you don't have to have a double sink. There are other options. Some people have said to me, like, do I need to remodel my whole kitchen? No, you do not. They understand that you're not gonna redo your whole kitchen just for this business. So yeah, you don't have to completely like rip out your sink and get a double sink. There are like other options out there. So yeah, that is that. What is your buttercream recipe? I get asked this so much because people always say that it looks really easy to smooth. I would say that it's half the recipe, half the technique. I have been doing this for 2 years now, which is actually a little bit crazy to think about. And I feel like a lot of it is technique. It's how quick you ice your cakes, because if they're cold and you ice them and you take too long, then your buttercream is going to start to sort of firm up a bit. So then it might be a bit more difficult to actually smooth it. However, in terms of my recipe, it's literally 2 things, and that is icing sugar and butter. That is literally it. I don't do the whole add water, I don't add milk, because if you add milk then you can't leave it out the fridge because you've got raw milk in there. So and obviously milk needs to be refrigerated. So then you have that issue, and I, no offense to my customers, don't trust them to keep it in the fridge because most of them don't, and they tell me. So I don't want to add something into the mix, which is again why I don't do like cream cheese frostings, because it's very difficult with keeping it in the fridge, and I wouldn't want to make someone ill because they left it out. So to avoid that, I don't put any milk in. And with water, which a lot of people don't realise, is obviously when you put it in there, the advisory is that you put it in there hot. So you put like boiling water in there to make it melt. However, you have to be very quick. Like, even I'm not quick enough, and I like to consider myself pretty quick at icing a cake. I can crumb coat a cake in 10 minutes, but I am not quick enough to do that. So the way it works is obviously you're putting hot water into your buttercream, and that then melts it a little bit so that you can ice it. But if you're not quick enough, as that water cools, the buttercream is meant to firm. So as the water goes cold, your buttercream just turns solid basically. So if you take too long, you're not going to be able to ice that cake. So again, I wouldn't go with that. So it's literally just 750 grams of icing sugar and 500 grams of butter. Alternatively, it's 2 blocks of butter. That's how I go off of it. I don't actually weigh out my butter, I just do 2 blocks. And yeah, to be fair, in all honesty, I don't actually weigh out the icing sugar either. I eyeball that, but that's just because I've been doing it for so long. I don't feel the need to actually weigh it out each time. But yeah, it's literally just add it until it's the right consistency. But that's pretty much the ratio that I go for if someone wanted to actually follow it. But yeah, it's pretty much just that. Like, if it looks too thick, then stop adding icing sugar. And if it looks like it's too buttery, you can usually smell the butter, and that is the giveaway that there's not enough icing sugar in it. Then just add a little bit more. But I would say add little at a time and just keep it mixing, and then hopefully you get the right consistency. But yeah, I would say obviously in hotter times make it stiffer, so I might add maybe like 850 icing sugar if it's like 30-degree heat. But even so, no amount of icing sugar will stop it melting, so you still have to keep it in the fridge, which is what some people don't realise. I actually had one recently where she didn't actually sort of moan to me because she knew that she left out the fridge and it was her fault, but she ordered another cake the week after and she was like, please can you put some supports in it, even though it's a single tier cake, which I never put supports in single tier cakes. And she said because the other one did collapse, and I was like, it was 35 degrees that day, and she was like, yeah, I left it out the fridge. So, you know, it's going to melt eventually, you can't stop that, but yeah, I would say just go slightly stiffer. But again, if you go too stiff, then it's really difficult to ice. So I just go with that ratio, and then they just need to keep it in the fridge, whether it's hot or cold outside. So next one, can you have a business from a rented place? This is another really common one. So if you're renting a flat, if you're renting a house, that is completely different to if you have a mortgage. And also if you own the house, then that is again different. If you own the house, you own it, so you don't need to check with anyone. If you are paying a mortgage, you just have to check with your mortgage provider. Most of the common ones like Barclays, places like that, they are all fine. It's more if you're maybe with, I mean, I don't know anything about houses myself because I haven't moved. But if you're with one that isn't as well known, then they might have a bit more requirements. But most of the like common, like banks, building societies, all that kind of thing, most of them approve it and no one has any issues. But if you are renting, you have to check with your landlord. It is not that they're trying to be annoying and stop you from having your own business. It's not that. It's their insurance. So if you were to get injured on your property, or if someone else gets injured on your property and they end up putting a claim in, your landlord isn't going to be covered for that because they don't have business insurance. So you have to check with them whether they are insured to have a business running from your flat or home or wherever it is. So yeah, that's that. Check with your landlord, because also you don't want to get fined. That's another thing. Some people have told me in the comments that they just do it anyway, but there is a risk that you could be fined by your landlord because you're like breaching your lease. So yeah, just check with your landlord before, and hopefully they will work with you. What insurance company are you with / cover for markets? So for my insurance, I'm with Simply Business, and I've never had any issues with them. They are great, and they're also, I find, the cheapest. So that's who I'm with. I personally have £5 million worth of cover. This is not essential. This is what I need for markets. I'm actually doing one next week, if anyone is in the area in Buckinghamshire. I'm doing the Bucks County show, and it is a very, very, very big market. It's going to be the biggest one I've ever done. They have up to 25,000 people come in a day, which is insane. So I don't even know how much I'm going to bake. There will be a vlog on that. But because it is such a large show, you have to have 5 million. However, some of the smaller markets I've done have only asked for 1 million. Some haven't even asked for a specific amount. They've just asked that I have cover. But if you're not doing markets, then I would say 1 million and under. And if you are doing markets, then the price difference between 1 million and 5 million is literally like £2 a month. So for me to change when I'm not doing markets, it just didn't make any sense, even though like I don't do them that often. So I just stick with the 5 million and have that all year round. And that is public liability and product liability. So public is your is the public. So if you're doing a market, it's if anyone gets injured from your stall, anything like that, and they're like your space, basically anything that you've got, knives, all that kind of stuff. And then there's also product, which is the products that you sell. So if someone has an allergic reaction or again injures themselves, say you sell, I don't know, scissors and they get injured, then that would obviously cover you for that. So yeah, public and product liability. And also on Simply Business, which again really confused me recently, because I'd never been asked for product liability. They just asked me for my insurance and I just send it through. But the Bucks County show asked for product and public, and when I called Simply Business, they said it's an umbrella. So when you buy your public liability, it includes product. It's in the small print of your certificate, but it's already included. So don't go buying it from other people. It's included in your however much a month. Mine's about £16. This one again is really common, and I've been so lazy with this that I apologise. Am I still working with Deliveroo? I never started, so I'm on Deliveroo and it's all set up now. However, I had like 3 months where my menu would not go online. Like, I don't know what was going on, but I had to call them, I had to send them like email copies of stuff, all my paperwork, and it just wouldn't put me on there. And then out of the blue, someone said to me that they saw me on Deliveroo, and I was like, but it's not working. And conveniently, it's now on there and it's working, and I seem to show on Deliveroo. But I just haven't, I've been too busy to actually get round to doing anything. So my shop is on there, but it's closed. So I am hoping now that I'm getting out of the social season, because I can't be doing Deliveroo when I've got as much on in my personal life as work life, with all these like festivals and things. But as we go into winter, I'm literally hibernating and just working and going to the gym. So what I'm thinking is I'm gonna start back up with Deliveroo, because it is like an order on the day type thing. I obviously need to have everything prepped and be very organised, and I just don't have the time. But yeah, I am technically still working with them, but I never properly set up. And also people are asking about the kit. The kit is free, they send it to you for free. And yeah, you just pay fees to Deliveroo for each sale. So yeah, that's on Deliveroo. Yes, I am still working with them, but yeah, I just haven't actually got round to being on there, if that makes sense. Do you include baking/cooking time in pricing? I do not. I include the prep time, but not the baking like in the oven, because during that time I am doing other things. So during that time I could be doing admin, I could be doing anything else, so I don't include that. However, I probably should. I am redoing all my pricing, because people may have seen on my Instagram, I am actually losing money at the moment, because everything has gone up. Butter's gone up, it's like double the price that it was last year, same with icing sugar. So everything's gone up, so I'm going to redo all my pricing for cakes. Everything else has been updated, brownies, all of that has all gone up, but it's been updated. So you may see on my website that things are a little bit more pricey. That's to take into account all those things. But cakes, I'm still charging them at, I think it's £15, no, £12 an hour. And I think it's 4 hours, and then it's ingredient cost. Yeah. So I need to up that. I need to up my hourly rate, because I personally think I'm worth 15 now, because I've been doing it for 2 years and my skill set is a lot different. And also, obviously the ingredient costs are now wrong, because it's all, like, I literally haven't changed those ingredient costs for about a year, because I didn't want to up my prices. But it's getting to the point where I'm like, no, I'm just going to have to up them. I haven't upped them since January, and even in January I only put up for each size of cake, so like 6 inch, 4 inch, all that kind of stuff. I just upped them by £5 per layer. That was it. So I literally have not upped them for ages, so I need to do that. So again, there will be a video on that where I'll go through my spreadsheet and everything and show you what I'm upping and like how I'm working it out. Do you have to register? As we know, I am a firm believer in registering your business and doing it all legitimately, and I just don't think it's that difficult. I get asked this question all the time over messages and comments. It is not difficult to register. It protects both you and the buyer, but also you, because if you're not a registered business and someone tries to claim against you for an allergic reaction or just wanting their money back, if you're not a registered business, you don't really have a leg to stand on. It's a bit like buying something off of I don't know, this is a bad example, but it's a bit like buying something off of eBay from just a random person, because like I could sell stuff on eBay and I'm not a business, and then buying from, say, like a clothing shop and expecting the same service. Like, obviously they're going to be different. And also, when you're registered, you pay for insurance, you have all these upfront costs, so you shouldn't really be charging the same price as, say, me if you're not registered, because you're probably not insured either and you haven't got all those startup costs that I have. So yeah, it does sort of like, it's a pet peeve of mine, basically. I don't agree with it if you're not registered. Like I say, it is so easy. So the only reason people don't is because they think that it's going to be a part-time hobby that they may not continue, which again, I think, why start a business if you don't actually think it's going to be something long-term? It's not just something to fill your time. It should be something that you're passionate about and that you want to actually turn into something. Anyway, rant over. Yes, you need to register. If you haven't already, I'll put a card up here, but I have a video which is to register or not to register, and it basically goes through everything, so that will go through it in more detail. Following on from that, do you need a hygiene inspection / rating? Again, think of it in this sense, and this is all I'm going to say on it, because again, I've done a video on it, but would you go into a restaurant if they didn't have a hygiene rating? Probably not, because if I went into a restaurant and no one had inspected them, for all you know, they could have bugs in the kitchen, they could be reusing pans, not washing them before they do different dishes, they could be having allergens in one dish and cooking non-allergen stuff in the same thing. A bit like when people go to Costa and they buy a dairy-free coffee, they use a different blender. Well, if they're not inspected, they could be using all kinds of stuff. They could not be washing their hands, they could get hair in the food and you not know. Like, you just wouldn't go to a restaurant if they weren't hygiene rated, and it works the same, if not worse, for a home, because in the comfort of your home, everything is hidden away. Like, people, I can't see into people's homes that they're baking from, so the reason you have a hygiene rating is so that people can trust you and know that you're cooking it in a clean environment, whereas you would assume that a restaurant where it's open and it's got employees and stuff coming through, that it would be clean because people know about it. Whereas, like I say, when it's a home business, you kind of want to reassure people that my home is clean, because it could not be. So yeah, that's what I'm saying on that, but I think it's really important. This is another thing, it's kind of quite broad, but can kitchen size affect your rating? Do you need a separate space? This is kind of, again, an umbrella of judging. So again, your inspector, all they want to know is that your kitchen is clean, your processes are in order, and that you have the right equipment. So like, you have a sink, because you obviously will need a sink. You have like various things in order for your business to actually work, no matter what business it is. They're not there to go, oh, your kitchen's a bit small, I think you should build an extension. You know, like, they're there to help you. They're not judging you on kitchen size. They're not judging you on the look of your kitchen in terms of like how many cupboards you have, all that kind of stuff. So when people are worried about the size of their area, or if it's a communal kitchen, mine's a communal kitchen, I have a separate workspace, but the oven is communal. The fridge is kind of semi-communal. It has my normal food in it, but that's on a different shelf, but it also keeps cakes in it. But yeah, they're not there to judge you, they're there to help you. And like I say, businesses vary, like home businesses vary so much. They are not worried about that. So yeah, do not worry about the size of your kitchen, all that kind of stuff. Just make sure that it's clean and that you have all your process in order and all your paperwork and all of that, and then you will be fine. The next one is, what cleaning chemicals do you use? I'm going to do a video on this. Someone actually commented on my video literally like half an hour ago asking me to do this. I will do a full video, probably like a bit of a clean with me, because I'm trying to do deep cleans either every week or every 2 weeks, depending on how busy I am, but I've been trying to film it and I just keep forgetting. But yeah, so I will do a video on it in more detail, but most of my stuff is from Aldi because they comply with the British standards. However, on non-baking days, and again, I told this to my inspector and she was fine with it. There's various different like knowledge on it, or like advice online, but on non-baking days you can use chemicals that aren't necessarily British standard. I don't use like bleach, but I would use like Zoflora on the floor and on the counters, but I wouldn't do it on a baking day because the fragrance is, I'm assuming, what they don't consider to be British standard, because as soon as you get something that's non-fragranced, it complies. So I would say use it on non-baking days, and then it's got time to actually disappear, basically. But it will obviously clean the surface potentially a bit better than other products. I personally think that like the deep oven cleaners are way better than any spray that you could ever use. So I use a deep oven cleaner on deep cleans, which is a non-baking day, and then on a baking day I might just spray it with like a disinfectant that complies. But on non-baking days is when I use any like deep cleaning products if needed. But most of the time I do just use sprays, which are British standard. But if I need to do a deep clean, then most of the time it's things that might not comply. But like I say, I just make sure that it's not a baking day, because then it's not going to actually contaminate. It just cleans the surface that day if it needed a deeper clean, like an oven, and then it will be out of the area, like the fragrance will be out of the area by the time you actually use it. Are hairnets and gloves essential? As far as I'm aware, this is like personal preference. I used to wear hairnets all the time, and then I just kind of got a bit lazy and was sick of them. So now I just tie my hair up and just make sure it's tied up. When it comes to gloves, I don't wear them for cakes because you're not usually touching them. But for like brownies and things, when I'm cutting them up, I do use gloves. Just because if they've got certain fillings like caramel and stuff, it kind of sticks to you. So it's not even necessarily just for the hygiene side, it's also because I don't want to get my hands all dirty. But I only really use it for like individual products like that. For like cupcakes and cakes, I don't usually, because I don't normally have to touch the cake. So yeah, I like, if you're lifting a cake onto like a cake layer onto the cake, then I wouldn't use gloves. I would just make sure my hands are clean. But yeah, I feel like you're not touching them as much as like brownies and stuff like that. So yeah, whenever I'm like holding cookies and stuff and taking photos of them, I always wear gloves. But again, I think it's personal preference. What am I registered as? I'm self-employed as a sole trader. This is a very confusing topic. I don't really understand it that well. It's just from what I've read, I've decided to go as a sole trader. It basically means that I am a self-employed person. Whereas if you are a limited company, then the company is separate from you, whereas I'm self-employed as my business. So I think it's more in terms of like a debt side, and also like paying wages and stuff. If your business is separate to you, then you pay yourself wages, and to other people as well. So obviously if you had like a shop, then you would register as a limited company. But because it's just me and I don't plan to have employees anytime soon, but you can always change to a limited company, there's no issue with that, then I don't. So it also means like if your company was to go under, they would, as a sole trader, they would come to you because the business is in your name. Whereas a limited company, because you're separate from the business, they would put the debt towards the business opposed to towards your name. So that's pretty much. And also limited companies pay VAT, like tax, whichever one it is. I think it's VAT. So that's like the one that you sign up for, and you pay if you earn, I think it's over 80k, but I don't earn over that, so I don't have to register. But yeah, it's a bit complicated, and if I'm honest, I don't really know much about it. I just looked into it, and all my siblings are self-employed, and some of them have their own businesses, so I went for that rather than like a limited company. When do I need to do a self-assessment, like tax return? So the tax year is April to April. I did one this year, which I submitted it in March because they extended the deadline, but usually it's by January. So I need to submit for, what are we on? for 21 to April 22. I need to submit that by January. Then they tell you whether you need to pay anything. Most of the time in our kind of situation you don't. It's more if you're earning more than most sort of home businesses. I didn't earn enough to have to pay anything, but that was also because I had a part-time job, so I actually got a rebate, but because I paid tax for that, so I had paid for a part-time job which I only did for like 3 months, and I had paid tax as if I was working there the whole year, because they obviously assume, I don't know if this makes sense, but when you sign up for a job they calculate your 20% or whatever it is that you pay on your wages. They calculate that providing you're working for the whole year. So when you don't, that's why you get a rebate, because you've paid taxes if you're working there the whole year and you weren't. So I ended up getting a rebate because I was only working there a few months, and then based on my earnings they said that there was nothing for me to pay. It might be different this year because I've had a part-time job for longer. I don't really know, so we will see. But yeah, it's by January. What do I use for my drips? I use a mix. I used to just use chocolate spread. However, Tesco seems to be torturing us all and thinking that they can just discontinue it. And now I'm a bit stuck. So again, normally I would use the Bacon Brothers spread that is on Cake Decorating Co. However, that is always out of stock, so I haven't been able to get it. So at the moment I'm using white chocolate and a little bit of vegetable oil. However, I hate this, absolutely hate it, because sometimes you melt it and it goes perfectly, sometimes you melt it and it doesn't drip right, it's too thick, whereas chocolate spread is always perfect. So yeah, I am planning to get the JM Posner white chocolate. However, again, it's been out of stock for literally like 2 months. I think it came into stock, I saw it on there last week and I was meant to order it and I forgot. So I need to go on there and hopefully it will still be in stock, because yeah, it is not nice using chocolate and oil. I used to do it and I don't know how I used to do it for every cake because it is so temperamental, whereas chocolate spread seems to be the way to go. So yeah, I would say either the JM Posner, Cake Decorating Co. has some. There's probably some other websites, but I haven't found any. If anyone knows any good ones, please comment them down below, because even I'm looking for new ones. The last one that we've got here, which is about recipes. So I get this quite a lot. People ask, can you use other people's recipes? Do you have to make all your own? All that kind of stuff. What recipes do I use? I use a mix. I would say you will never find a recipe that is perfect, and that's one thing that I've learned. I don't think I use any recipe exactly how it is. Like, I don't think I've ever used a recipe exactly how it's written. I've had to change something about it, whether it's the weight of the ingredients, whether it's the cooking time, the order that is prepped in. So like chocolate cake, I throw all the ingredients in together, but then when I do like Victoria Sponge and all like the lighter coloured ones, like lemon, stuff like that, I have to do the butter and sugar first. I don't know why, it's just chocolate. I think because you've got all the cocoa powder and like melted chocolate in it and stuff like that, it just has to be all mixed together, otherwise it goes not right. So yeah, it really depends, but most of my recipes started as recipes that were like online, and then I changed all the measurements to suit my tins, just from trial and error. Like, there isn't really any other way that I can recommend doing it, because again, people ask me how I know what to put in a tin. It's literally just trial and error, and I'm like, right, this recipe makes 4 6-inch tins, it makes 3 8-inch tins, blah blah blah, and you just trial and error it. But yeah, you can use recipes that are online or in recipe books, but I would say just try and change them a little bit so that you're not completely copying someone. And like I say, 9 times out of 10 you will have to change it, because I've never found one that is absolutely perfect. The amount of times I do a recipe, and that is not for work, like it's just for like pleasure, if I wanted to make myself like, I don't know, a cookie or something, and I found this recipe and I would do it and it would turn out horribly, like it would just not bake right or something, and I'm like, how do people use this recipe? So yeah, 9 times out of 10 I completely change them. And that is the last one. So I'm hoping that this was useful in some way, and that answered people's questions. Like I say, these are the most common questions that I get on my YouTube, and I see them in the comments all the time. I do usually just copy and paste responses because I don't have enough time to give personalised ones each time. But hopefully this saves you guys having to actually ask them in the question box, because I've asked them. So yeah, I hope this was helpful, and if you have any video ideas, put them down below. I have got some vlogs coming up, and I also did a couple of tutorials on one of my recent cakes that I did. There's a sugar sales one coming up, you know, like the rice paper sales. I did one on that. The camera did die, so it's going to be a bit of a mismatch. And then I also made a fondant whale, but I'm not sure if the angle was right, so hopefully they're helpful in some way. They will be like really short videos, but I just thought I'll pop them up as well. But like I say, if you have any like requests that you definitely want, I have got a list of a few that I'm working through over the next few weeks while I've got a bit of time, because lots of people have been requesting things. So yeah, that is the update. I hope you're all well. I am doing a lot better recently, so you will see a lot more of me. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!